Athens and Sparta are two very different city-states. Both are found relatively close to each other on the country of Greece, but their lifestyles and cultures are complete opposites. Although Athens and Sparta have their strong and weak points, the Athenian way of life will provide the greatest chances for prosperity. Here we see the Athenian way of life. It is very broad and culture-based, as compared to the Spartan way of life, which is extremely structured and military-based. The Athenians valued family honor very much, which provided trust and peace in the community. The Athenians also valued athleticism, and boys trained to compete in the Olympics. Although Sparta was also focused on athleticism, it was a requirement for young boys, and usually the athletic activities were very harsh. The education in Athens covered many topics, from music to dance, mathematics to history, and grammar to poetry. Children learned them all. In Sparta, the education was based on the military, and that was all a boy did from the age of 7 to the age of 30. Athenian children grew up with a balanced lifestyle, which would provide many choices of career in their life. Spartan children were only faced with the military, which made them strong, but didn't give them a choice with what to do with their life. Clearly, the Athenian lifestyle was much more balanced than the Spartan lifestyle, which is why they prospered so much. The government of Athens was a democracy, meaning that all the people had a say in the government. 500 citizens were chosen each year to be part of the city council, so anybody could make it. On contrary with the Spartans, their government was an oligarchy, which meant that only a small amount of people could rule, which were usually groups of aristocrats. Because of this, not many people had a say in the government, and the ones who did have a say were usually wealthy. The Athenian government was much more effective in getting all the people to participate. In this way, the government solely knew what the people wanted, unlike the Spartan government where only the wealthy had a say, making tension between the rich and between the poor. The Athenian government prospered much more because the people had a decision in how they lived. Athenian women were the housekeepers of the family and lived by their husbands' rules. They learned many important skills on how to keep an orderly home, and even learned how to weave. As you can see, Athenian women in this picture are making food by the fire and cleaning clothes for their family. As opposed to Spartan women were required to exercise and train. They did not have to be faithful to their husbands, which could have caused tension between the families. In Athens, the women there had to respect their husbands, which led to a peaceful family life. This was an obvious reason that could have led to the prosperity of the Athenians, because families got along. Slaves in Athens were fairly treated. Sometimes it was hard to tell apart a slave from a normal citizen. Slaves could buy their freedom if they wanted to. This sort of treatment of slaves was more peaceful than the Spartans. The Spartan slaves were harshly treated and were owned by the state, so the owners didn't have control over them. This sort of treatment could have easily angered slaves and tried to turn them against the Spartans, whereas the Athenian slaves were more inclined to obey their masters because they were fairly treated. In the Athenian military, boys had the choice whether to join or not. Wealthy people were expected to serve, but ordinary citizens were used if needed. Since wealthier people were a big part of the military, it also meant that they were mostly the ones paying for it and supporting it. The Athenians prospered from their military because it didn't force people to choose to join or not, which made it more appealing to support, because it didn't force the citizens to choose to join or not. The Spartans, however, required boys to join from a young age. This could upset families because young boys were gone fighting their whole lives and could not see their family. In conclusion, both Athens and Sparta have stronger points than the other, but overall, Athens was the most prosperous because of its well-roundedness of life. Athens put the people first in every decision, which led to peace among the people and enjoyable lives.